The dust has settled on Daddy Wesker and chapter 25 of Dead by Daylight, which can mean only one thing. It's time to look ahead to chapter 26, because, you know, new content. And I have a really cool idea of what I would like to see for this next chapter. But let's start with what we already know about chapter 26. Now, as usual, a few leaks have already come to the surface for this Dead by Daylight chapter, courtesy of Leaks by Daylight. And what we do know is that chapter 26 will probably be another licensed chapter. The killer will be male and will be called The Night. Now, of course, this could be false. Obviously, you've got to take all of these leaks with like a pinch of salt. But to be fair, Leaks by Daylight has not let us down in a very long time. So let's run with this idea and think about what chapter 26 could be. Now, in my opinion, there is only one worthy franchise that fits the details that we've gotten so far. And that is... Dooby-dooby-doo, where are you? We got some... Stay with me. Okay, just stay with me for a second. Let's start with the killer. Now, there is one obvious character from the Scooby-Doo franchise who would fit the Night, and that is the Black Knight Ghost. It was the first antagonist that the gang ever faced in their first animated episode, so it would kind of be a really cool killer to come along with the Scooby-Doo chapter. Now, specifically, though, I'm talking about the Black Knight Ghost. Let me zoom in a little bit. The Black Knight Ghost from Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, which, if you haven't seen the movie, was basically an old costume brought to life by a machine. I don't even know. Like, I've watched that movie so many times and I still don't fully understand it. It was some sort of machine that brought the monsters to life. Moving on before we get into Scooby-Doo lore too much. Now, I don't know about like powers and perks and all that kind of stuff. It's not really what I get involved in, but can you imagine the stun animation? Picture it in your mind. The Black Knight Ghost is following you. You drop a pallet on his head and you hear... Right in the round tables. Tell me that that alone is not cause enough to bring this chapter into Dead by Daylight. Now, moving on to the survivors, obviously, it's pretty clear who it would be, but I would actually suggest that they bring Shaggy and Velma in as the two main survivors and then have Fred and Daphne as legendary costumes. I personally feel like Shaggy and Velma are the more popular out of the four, so it would make sense to have those two as the baseline characters and then give people the option to buy these two characters if they wanted to main either of them. Do not come at me in the comments for that statement. I stand by it. Fred and Daphne have nothing on Shaggy and Velma. Fight me. For obvious reasons, Scooby isn't included in that. I kind of feel like it would be hard to bring a dog as a playable character into the survivor realm. But he could still be referenced through like charms. Maybe you get like an exclusive charm if you buy the DLC pack. Obviously in the lore, he would probably be knocking around. Maybe there's some reason as to why he's not in there that the lore experts could figure out. I don't know, but these would be the four survivors that would come with the chapter. Now, in my opinion, this chapter should bring a map along with it, and that is actually the most exciting part for me. I think there are three possibilities. The first one would be the Coulsonian Criminology Museum from the second movie. This would be another indoor map, which I think would be really cool. And if we go to a shot of the interior that we get from the movie, can you imagine like if there was a pallet here and you're just looping around this area and you're just suddenly getting chased by like Michael Myers or the Black Knight Ghost around the pterodactyl ghost in the Criminology Museum? Like, can you imagine how fucking cool that would be? It would just be so weird and awesome at the same time. Also, all of the exhibits that you can see knocking around, these could be like cool references to fans of the franchise for like old animated episodes and stuff. And like, this just seems to be the best option for me in terms of representing the lore of the franchise, because you could include so many of these references, so many of like the old Scooby-Doo lore just kind of packed into this one location. I think that would be really cool. The second option would be the Mystery Incorporated headquarters, which we see again in the second movie. Now, what would be the most interesting thing about this to me would be how the entity would take this kind of like colorful vibe and like Dead by Daylight afire, essentially. That's not even a word, but like make it all grungy, and whether it would or would it keep this kind of really colorful vibe to it. That would be really interesting to see, but not as much lore as you'd find in the Coulsonian Museum, so I honestly think that this would be the better option. Now, the third option, which would be largely the fan service one, I think, would be Spooky Island from the first movie. Now, if we've taken all of the aspects of the second movie as the chapter, like the killer and the survivors and like their whole cosmetics and stuff, Spooky Island wouldn't really make sense. Also, it'd probably be another outdoor map, so like, meh, I'd prefer an indoor map. But, you know, they might be able to make something pretty cool out of that at the same time, so That would be probably the lesser likely if this chapter was to happen, but I do think that fans of the franchise would probably prefer this one over the other two. Now, you might be thinking, but this is far too memey, far too silly to be a Dead by Daylight chapter. And honestly, who the fuck cares? Like, maybe we need a memey chapter. Maybe we need something that's a bit silly, but at the same time, really cool. A lot of people have been asking for a very long time for like a more adult version of Scooby-Doo. And this would be a really perfect opportunity to bring the characters into a more adult environment that doesn't necessarily affect the original franchise itself. It just kind of takes the characters and brings them into a new environment where we can see them in a more adult sense, if that makes sense. Probably. And like the gang deals with ghouls and monsters all the time, so it kind of makes sense for them to be in this horror environment. And it'd be really cool as well to see how the lore would interact with that. You know, would they treat it as a mystery? Would they try and unmask the entity? That would be fucking hilarious. I would love to see that in the lore. And all in all, I honestly think that this would be just a perfect chapter for chapter 26. And I would love, love, love to see Scooby-Doo and the Black Knight Ghost as the next installment of Dead by Daylight. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if you would like to see Scooby-Doo on like a genuine level as well. Like this video is kind of a joke, but it's also kind of serious. Honestly, I would love to see Scooby-Doo in the game. It would just be fucking awesome. You damn well know as well that I would be a Velma main. You damn well know. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. I would love to hear your opinions. On a final note though, I am going to say that in the words of the great Danny DeVito, if behavior don't do this, then
they don't have a hair on their ass.
So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you.